Next question, Representative Atkins. What do you think are the two top immigration issues that the legislature should address?
Well, first of all, immigration is a federal issue and not a state issue. I think the biggest issue that we can affect on the state level is to make sure that employers are not hiring illegal immigrants. Because if you don't have the demand, it'll reduce the supply. And then I think we ought to work with our federal delegation on some very comprehensive and compassionate immigration reform.
Mr. Van Tassel?
As far as immigration goes, I believe that we should be pressuring our federal representatives to make immigration easier. I think although it is a federal issue, it's important that the states say, you know, we really think there could be a big impact by reforming the immigration policy. It's extremely difficult right now to become a legal immigrant. And you know, you get a lot of people that shake it off and say, well, people should just do it legally. Well, there's a reason that it's extremely difficult right now. So we should be pressuring our federal representatives to reform that. And also I think we should be treating illegals that are found in Massachusetts with human dignity. And I think that's very important too. Thank you.
We'll begin with Mr. Van Tassel for this question. What methods do you favor to fund transportation infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and mass transit?
As I mentioned earlier, with regards to the gas tax, which I would be in favor of repealing the indexing to inflation, although I would be in favor of a percentage tax on that. I think that is a very legitimate use of that money, is using it on our bridges and roads, because that's something that we all use. I also do agree that tolling is a useful method of fundraising for that, because the people that use the roads the most are directly paying to improve those. And finally, I think a lot of the sales tax and income tax that we collect should be used for things like that, and not for a lot of the waste that's been spent on. You know, instead of $121 million to fail to fix the Health Connector website, I think we could spend some of that to help fix the things that we use every day, our roads and bridges and transportation.
Same question, Representative Atkins.
Well, obviously the gas tax, because the gas tax has historically been one of the measures that we use, because it goes right to, directly dedicated to the roads. The problem with that is it's going to decrease as we use more and more alternate uses of energy to run our cars. Electronic tolling at our borders, I think, would be a good idea, because the minute we, as residents of Massachusetts, leave the Commonwealth, we pay a toll on another state's road, and I think people should reciprocate paying here. Another proposal is paying a premium for if you rack up a lot of miles on your car, that you would be paying for that use. The problem with that is that there are many people, especially in western Massachusetts, who can drive 50 miles in the course of the day just dropping their kids off to soccer and going to the grocery store. So unless we came up with, and some of you have been over the years involved in these formulas and know how complicated and how easily outdated they can get, but unless we could come up with an equitable formula for people who have to drive long distances just to live, I don't know how we would implement that.
Mr. Van Tassel, 30 seconds.
I just want to say that we shouldn't only be looking to fund these things through taxes collected specifically for that purpose. I mean, we collect income and sales tax, and it goes to a general fund for the state. And I think the general fund should also be used for things that we use every day, instead of being wasted on a lot of other things.
Excuse me?
That is the rebuttal. Oh, so we
Good.
go. Okay. That was the last word for that. We'll begin with Representative Atkins for this question. We have more technology in our schools every day, including potentially a device for every student. In what way can or should the state assist the schools in facing this challenge?
This is a real challenge for our schools, because technology changes so rapidly. And our budget and the way we deliberate these issues is not consistent with how fast the technology changes, quite frankly. And it's a dilemma in these communities because kids often have computers at home that are far more sophisticated and run faster than we can provide in the schools. We have interesting startup companies here, though, right, in Concord. And one of them has developed a tablet for grades 1 through 3 that I'm fascinated with, because it does, and you can drop it from a 2-story window and it still stays together, so it's appropriate for that age group. It is, it's tied to the internet but blocked with the sensor so that inappropriate things don't happen. But parents, teachers, and students can work on a worksheet on the tablet at the same time, which is really revolutionary. So we have to make sure that we're funding to the level that's appropriate. And this item only costs $100 per student. And that they have the tools that they need, because pencils and papers in terms of what we do and how we communicate are no longer the instruments.
Mr. Van Tassel, the same question.
Well, I guess you could describe me as a millennial. Having graduated from high school in 2009, I was growing up in the time where kids were just every kid was starting to have a cell phone, using them in class to talk back and forth and things of that nature, and really were outpacing the teachers as far as their knowledge of the technology was going. But I do think technology serves a really useful purpose for educational purposes. If you look at how much money we spend and how much textbooks cost nowadays, you can save a lot of money by using iPads or an alternative tablet device and buying the digital version of those books, and having the student can have all their books on one device. And also, a big concern I know when I was in high school was that the amount of books that we were carrying on our back every day was a serious concern. You know, we couldn't afford having 2 copies of every book, one for home and one in the classroom. So I think as the digital age continues, I think we'll find more and more uses for these in the classroom.
This will be the final question in this segment, and we will begin with Mr. Van Tassel. What is the first bill you would introduce in the House?
The first bill I would introduce would be to take the income tax back to 5%, as was voted on by the people of the Commonwealth. There's been various attempts at that in the past. I think democracy in its ultimate form is everyone being able to go out and cast their vote and speak their mind, and when that gets passed, it should be done accordingly. There's been plans to do it over a period of years. I think we go in and pass it right away, and we do with what we have, instead of complaining that we're not going to have enough money to do all the things that we like to do. Let's do what we need to do, and let's reduce the tax burden on our citizens as they voted.
Representative Atkins.
Oh, God, I have a million ideas of things I'd like to do. I think an idea that I just thought of yesterday is that people require your Social Security number for credit checks. So if you want to take out a Talbot's credit card, or in this case it was Verizon, because I was negotiating a new phone, they ask for your Social Security number. Now everybody in the Social Security Department tells you, don't give anybody your Social Security number. A lot of organizations will deal with just the last 4 numbers, and I think I would like to sit down and work with the Finance Committee on doing just that. If they need a source of identification, we can give them the numbers off of our driver's license that are now a substitute for our Social Security, or the last 4 digits of our Social Security. But because of all the problems with identity theft that has plagued this nation, having to do that every time you take out a credit card someplace, I think is just foolish.
So for our closing statements, up to 1 minute, we'll begin with Mr. Van Tassel.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum today. I also want to thank Representative Atkins for appearing on stage with me, and for you, the voters in attendance, for being active and engaged in the political process in Massachusetts. I believe that all power is derived from the people, and the people must be kept informed. Amendment 41 to House Bill 3700 proposed 6 public hearings before a vote to raise taxes. Representative Atkins voted against this amendment, as did almost every other Democrat in the House. Why? Keeping the electorate informed should not be a party issue. The Democrats voted against it because the Speaker told them to. Massachusetts needs representation, that is not beholden to party leadership. I have no patrons to reward. My only special interest is you. Send me to Beacon Hill to stand up for a transparent government, one in which you are an informed partner. I believe in grassroots politics. If you'd like to help me plant the seeds, please vote for me November 4th and share my campaign with your friends and neighbors. My name is Ken Van Tassel, and I want to be your state representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Atkins.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Van Tassel, for your candidacy. And a special thanks to the League of Women Voters, who does the day-to-day research and hard work and the phone calls and the meetings and the forums. As I said before, my highest priorities for this district is what they care about. Education for their kids, that we have top-notch schools. Economic development. One of the reasons why I love chairing tourism, arts, and cultural development is because that's on jobs on Main Street. This is where I've learned doing this that it's those organizations that made it through every economic crisis we have and stayed intact when Wang and other big organizations did not. And government reform, I don't think there's anything more dangerous to our democracy than the Citizens United decision. And I have done everything I can and will continue to do to work against that Supreme Court decision so that you have the power and the same amount of franchise in your one vote that everybody else does. Thank you. And I ask you for your vote.
It's time. I thank the audience. I thank the